Dear listeners, there are places that stay with you long after you leave them, not because of what you saw, but because of what you carried away in your body and the mind. So, for 4 months in the early 2002, my guest walked inside the pit at ground zero as a safety monitor, one of only four women among 1,500 rescue workers. So today, more than 2 decades later, she is here to talk about the mental, physical after effects that followed her home and what it takes to live with an experience that never really ends. So, welcome to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, dear listeners. I'm your host, Avik, and this is the space where we talk about mental health in real terms with real people and about the things that shape us and the ways we learn to carry them forward. Today, we have a very lovely guest. Please welcome Solange Schwalbe. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Avik. I really
Uh,
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us. And dear listeners, like before we get into the discussion, I'll quickly love to introduce you with Solange. So, uh, Solange spent over 3 decades as a motion picture sound editor in Los Angeles before retiring and moving to South Lake Tahoe. But, but it was her 4 months as a rescue worker at Ground Zero in 2002 that changed the course of her health and her understanding of the resilience. Yeah. So our discussion will be really great today, dear listeners. So I'll just say, sit back, relax, just be with us. Let's get started. So, Solange, when people think about the ground zero rescue workers, they often picture the immediate heroism, right? The adrenaline, the solidarity. So, what do you think? I mean, what's something people get wrong about what that experience actually does to you over the time? What's it?
What what um what do people get wrong about the experience? Well, I've not been asked that question because there's really nothing that I can imagine being wrong with what people imagine what it was like to be in ground zero because the solidarity was so severe that it didn't matter where you were from, who you were, what sex, race, creed, color, none of it mattered. We were all there for one reason and we all worked in unison. And I can't imagine anything that people might get wrong about what it was like to be in the pit of ground zero.
Mm. So, I mean, was there a moment when you realized that this was something, it was something that you could just move past, that it had become part of your long term reality?
There was no chance that any of this I would have been able to move past it. Not There's nothing about what happened in the pit of ground zero that I can actually move past. It has stayed with me for the last 25 years.
So, looking back, what do you think made the mental and the physical toll so deep? Like, was it the environment itself, the nature of the work, the lack of preparation for what comes after, or is it something totally different?
No, it's all of that. I had no preparation at all. I had no training. I had no right being there. I had no insight, foresight, nothing that would prepare me for what I was about to endure in the pit of ground zero. And the The work was severe. The environment was hideous, and the smell was awful. And it was bodies and body parts every day. And it was working under this environment that had just been unprecedented and so severe that no one could imagine what it was like. If you see photos of a pit,
Yeah.
you're not looking at dirt, you're looking at zone dust. Zone dust is a mixture of um, chemicals and gases and glass and body parts and all kinds of horrendous. It's a horrendous mix of elements that we had to work in and around. It was sticky and it smelled bad. It was awful. It penetrated everything. It was really zone dust was really bad, and the noise factor was so high you could barely hear yourself think. The noise level was so high that it was after a while, you just shut it out. You can't hear it anymore, and, but the people were amazing. The camaraderie and the joy of being with these people every day, day after day, made all of it tolerable.
It sounds like the isolation was not just the physical, it was also the emotional. Like being in a role where you couldn't show vulnerability and where your presence itself was an anomaly. So, I mean, obviously, I mean, that adds a whole other layer to carrying something heavy, right? So, yeah. And if I talk about our daily life, everyday life now, years later, how does that time at the ground zero still show up? Like, are there triggers, physical symptoms, patterns you notice in like how you move through the world?
Yes. I have what I call a ground zero cough.
Okay.
It is from the throat, and it is, very annoying, but it's never gotten worse, but it's never gotten better. It's the same for the last 25 years I've had this cough, and it has nothing to do with a physical ailment. It is unto itself, and it drives me crazy. There are so many people who have died, and there are so many people who have committed suicide since ground zero. We have readings of the names of the people who have died since, and there are thousands. There's more than the people who were killed that day. And we got to the point where there are so many people who have died that we can only go back 1 year in the readings of the names. And the um the um the major cause of death is cancer. There's 49 cancers associated with ground zero, and there's respiratory, blood poisoning, and the problem is is that the victims fund, which takes care of everybody's ailments, and it doesn't matter what you are or where you're from, but they don't take care of mental health. There's no funding for mental health, and I have always wondered about that. I am medicated, I'm in therapy, and it's that there are many triggers for me, especially anytime ground zero is in the news, especially this year. It's in social media, it's on television, and all you see all you see are the attacks over and over and over again. And people talk about the aftermath and the conspiracy theories is so overwhelming, and all of that are triggers for me. And it's just become an obsession for me, and nobody understands. Unless I'm in New York City, nobody understands what I'm going through or what it feels like. No one. And it's a matter of trying to work past it. If I talk about it, people just blow it off. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to talk about it. and it's the mental health is been compromised because I can't seem to get a thought straight in my head. I do think about ground zero all the time. It's like it happened yesterday. And I ended up writing a book because I could not stop thinking about it. And I thought I'd put it down on paper.
I totally can understand. I mean, when no one understands, that's really a pain. And also, like, apart from that, making someone understand also of that situation about that pain, it is much more painful than it is really, really very painful. So, how do you explain this to people who were not there, like who might not understand, like why something from 2 decades ago still affects you today?
Well, that's an impossible question to answer because it's just that nobody gets it. Nobody knows what it was like to be in the pit. No one,
Mm.
unless you were in the pit. There was no television, no cameras, no news, no newspapers, no radio, nothing. There was nothing in the pit. No one was allowed in. And so trying to explain what was it like and what happened in the pit is impossible. It's literally you cannot even imagine what it must have been like. And
Oh,
I carry that with me all the time and it doesn't go away. The thoughts, the aftermath, the trigger points. And like I said, I'm medicated. I have to be because I would not be able to function as in a normal society, based on the depression and the PTSD and the anxiety is pretty severe.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like there's something powerful in naming the fact that healing is not linear, and that some experiences don't get, you know, say, smaller with time. They just become part of the landscape that you navigate. So, obviously, I mean, that takes a different kind of a strength. So, uh, what's helped you to stay grounded? Like, uh, or I'd say, if I have to say, like, find moments of the peace. Like, given everything your mind and body have been through, uh, is there a practice or the perspective or even just a way of being uh, that's made a difference?
Well, um, like I said, I wrote this book. I'm not supposed to know this. It's very cathartic. It was a it was a purge of feelings and history and thoughts. Besides being medicated, I live in the mountains, so I have the ability to hike every day. And the hiking in the forest and keeping me grounded is what helps me. Talking about it in therapy helps me because there are different elements that happen that trigger ground zero, and I have to face it instead of trying to bury it. I can't bury it. I have to face it.
Got it. Got it. So, um, and obviously, like, as it sounds like you have had to become your own advocate in a lot of ways, uh, learning what you need even when the world around you doesn't automatically offer it. So, uh, definitely, that's a kind of wisdom that's hard won, but uh, invaluable. So, and on the days when weight of it feels heaviest, when the mental or the physical effects flare up, what helps you keep going? Like, how do you handle the setbacks without losing yourself in them?
Well, see, I live on the West Coast. I'm from Los Angeles, and no one gets it. I can't talk about it with anybody. And even my therapist is like, she'll never know what it's like to be at ground zero. I could explain it forever, and she'll never quite get it. So when things get really bad, I have a tendency to, well, I have two dogs, and they help. I'm not married, I'm not in a relationship, no kids, and so I'm very isolated, and I have to deal with this by myself, and, the hard times are just sitting on the couch and just being numb to the whole thing, where I can't move, I can't do anything, I just sit there and you know, dwell on it. It's impossible. I try to be too busy, but that changed when I started writing the book. I just found myself with a lot of time on my hands and spending a lot of time thinking about ground zero because of the book. And so I just cannot stop thinking about it. It's consuming. It is absolutely consuming.
Got it. So, and what would you say to someone else who's carrying the long-term effects of trauma, like whether from a single event or accumulated over the time, like who's struggling to find a way forward? So, what is it?
Well, I would ask them if they're in therapy. I would just the first thing I would ask them is, "Are you talking to someone?" Because talking to friends
Mm,
and talking to family, that's not gonna help you. You need professional guidance. Therapy doesn't tell you what to do. Therapy just gives you a guide.
mm,
They don't tell you what to do. They just guide you through the pain and the trauma, and it's impossible to get that with your friends and family. You cannot depend on your friends and family to give you guidance. It's impossible because they have no idea how to deal with depression, anxiety, and PTSD. It's impossible. So you got to get professional help, and you've got to be willing and open to accept the ideas that your therapist will give you, but it's it's like, there's really no choice. You have something as severe as ground zero has to be dealt with professionally.
got it. Got it. And any practice or advice apart from the professional therapist, if you have to give anything or any suggestion, if you have to share with the listeners, what that would be?
Well, I wish I had the patience for meditation because meditation is grounding, very grounding, and I just cannot sit still. I cannot stop the brain from functioning. I have to take medication to sleep. I have to take medication to be awake. I have to take medication for the depression and the PTSD and all of the elements involved. I cannot lead a normal life. I cannot function without my medication. So I'm very dependent upon it and I'm too afraid to let it go because I don't want to find out what it's like to not be medicated. I don't wanna know. I know that I'm a functioning human being and everything is fine in my life. I can work, I have a lot of friends, I have a great life, and I don't wanna change that by changing my medication. So, there really is nothing that I do like meditation. I do hike. I will hike for miles and miles and miles on the trails in the forest, and I think that's my alternate therapy. My meditation is the hiking in the forest.
Oh, that's interesting. And that's really lovely to know. And also, like, I think what you said is something a lot of people need to hear, because that surviving is not about being unaffected, but it's all about finding the ways to live fully, even when parts of you are still healing, still remembering, still processing. That's, I'd say, dear listeners, it's the resilience in its truest form. So, Lance, like, if listeners wants to connect with you, how they can connect?
Well, my book, I'm Not Supposed to Be There, is my outreach in society at this time. It was, like I said, it was very cathartic to write it. And it's something that I wanted to share with everyone because no one knows what it was like to be in the pit. Everything that's been written about Ground Zero has been the attacks, the aftermath, the conspiracy theories. Mine talks about the actual life day to day in the pit of Ground Zero. My book is on Amazon.com. I'm Not Supposed to Know This. And it's also on Barnes and Noble. And my website is imnotsupposedtoknowthis.com. And my email is I'm not supposed to know this at yahoo.com. And the book it was just launched last week.
That's amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for your easy reference. And um, you don't have to be the same person you were before something changed you. You just have to keep learning, like right now, right at the moment. So, thank you so much, Solange, for sharing so openly today. And I mean, if definitely people want to learn more about your work, they can definitely connect with you. But I'd say it's really great to know you, great that you shared with people. And for everyone, I'd just say, like, and thank you so much for being here, first of all. Um, if you're listening right now, or maybe you'll be listening later, just remember that healing doesn't mean kind of forgetting things. It
Right.
means, yeah, I mean, it means finding the strength to carry what matters and the grace to uh, kind of set down what does not.
Correct.
Yeah. So with this, definitely, I'll just say this is your host of Weekend. This is mine. Uh, is really great that you are here on Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Take care of your mind and take care of your life. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.